Kavita, thank you very much for your testimony. We'll now proceed to questions, and please know that some of the folks that are going to be asking questions are on virtually, and so you can work with that. Mr. Barr, I'm going to start with you. I want to thank you for your willingness to serve. I appreciate the opportunity to sit down with you in my office to hear more about your views and priorities. I asked you about Fed's independence. The ranking member talked about the Fed's independence in his opening statement. Can you describe to me why the Fed's independence is so important?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. The Federal Reserve's independence is longstanding and I think quite critical to its effectiveness as a nonpartisan institution, an institution that can make judgments purely based on the evidence, the facts in front of it. That's especially important with respect to its monetary policy duties. The market needs to have confidence that the Federal Reserve's decisions are made based solely on the evidence. And the American public needs to have confidence that those decisions are based solely on the evidence in front of it. So its independence dramatically enhances its effectiveness. And I think you've seen, as other countries around the world have moved to a model of independent central banking, that's also helped in their institutions as well.
So why would it be a mistake to allow politics to influence the nation's monetary policy?
Thank you, Senator. If politics were to get involved in monetary policy, it would dramatically reduce the effectiveness of what the Federal Reserve does and what it says. It would reduce the effectiveness of what it does in the sense that it could lead to wild swings in policy that are based on politics rather than the evidence in front of it. And it would affect the effectiveness of what the Federal Reserve says because people would lose confidence that the judgments that are being made are based on the evidence in front of it. If confirmed as Vice Chair and Governor, I absolutely assure you that I will be and am and will be firmly committed to the independence of the Federal Reserve.
In the last administration, the president got on TV and tried to influence the chairman of the Fed. What would you do if that were to happen now?
Thank you, Senator. I would ignore that.
It's good enough for me. Mr. Barr, I'm very proud of the work that was done on 2155. I think it struck a right balance, and quite frankly, and maybe unfortunately, it was tested very, very quickly with the pandemic. And quite frankly, I think it showed that we struck the right balance. I think the work the community banks and the credit unions did across Montana and I think across the country was exemplary. So what is your view on the impact that S2155 has had on our financial system?
Thank you, Senator. During the passage of S2155, I supported aspects of the legislation. I was concerned about other aspects of it. I think the community bank provisions of that legislation were quite good and strong. And I also thought other protections added to the legislation on veterans and service members were spot on. And I think those community bank provisions worked well, both at the time and since. I did have some concerns that I expressed as the bill was being drafted that some aspects of the bill could weaken capital or liquidity rules for larger firms. Some of the concerns that I had were related to credit card banks and the large U.S. operations of foreign firms. A number of the concerns I had with the bill were actually addressed by a manager's amendment that came in that, for example, clarified that the U.S. operations of foreign firms would still be required to have intermediate holding companies. So overall, with the bill, I thought it was really quite admirable the way Republicans and Democrats worked together on that legislation. And I think if you look at the capital and liquidity in the financial system today, they're quite strong.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to Ranking Member Toomey now, but before I do that, I just want to express what a pleasure it has been working with you, Ranking Member Toomey, during this banking hearing.
And for so long. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor Barr,